Hello everyone, and welcome to the Modern Java course. Records are one of the most exciting innovations to the Java language. They remove a lot of the boilerplate of Java beans and make coding data objects fun again. But they have several pitfalls and oddities we need to discuss. Before I proceed, as usual, the code for this and other videos in the series is available on my GitHub page. So check out this project, start it, and follow me on GitHub. Java 14 introduced a new concept, records. A Java record is a final class that has final fields. It is immutable. We can represent a simple Java fraction as this record. It has two fields, a numerator and a denominator. This would be the equivalent of this Java class. As you can see, there's a lot of boilerplate, but this is almost an exact equivalent of the record code we saw before. First, notice that the class is final. All records are implicitly final and can't be extended. Also notice that the fields are final. This means that fields in records can't be modified after construction. Sort of. This isn't exactly so, and we'll get to that soon enough. Since the fields are final, the constructor must initialize all the fields. That's why the syntax of the record looks like a constructor. It's effectively a constructor. There are no setters for record for obvious reasons, but there are getters. Instead of using the typical get field name convention, they use the field name itself as the getter. That's actually rather nice. ToString is implemented implicitly. This is probably not the actual implementation logic, but it should look roughly like this. Finally, both equals and hashcode are implemented by default. Again, this is probably not the same implementation, but there's a sensible default that we don't need to write. Records are remarkably cool, but they are very conservative in their choices. This is good. Java's strength is in small measured steps, but there are two things that might stump you when you try to use records. You can use records in a backend server as data transfer objects or even as embeddables in Hibernate 6. But you can't use them as JPA entities, which is a big problem with the getter and setter boilerplates. The main problems are records are final, and final classes can't be used in JPA. Entities need to have a no-argument constructor, which isn't practical for records. The fields themselves are final. The JPA implementation can't inject them. There are other subtle ways, such as the default hashcode and equals implementations that might collide with JPAs. Hopefully, JPA will be revised to support immutable records. This will require a major conceptual revision, and I'm not sure this is practical. Another possibility is a revised version of the record feature that will relax some of these constraints. The second problem with records is the fact that they aren't really immutable. Consider this code. The ID value is indeed immutable. Java passes values and won't let us change a primitive. However, arrays and objects are references, and their referred content can be modified. Java has no way of blocking that. There is a partial workaround, but it isn't great. We can redefine the constructor from the record using the syntax. We can copy the values to the local variable, and so modifications will remain in place. The data can still be modified, but it will be local. This won't work for every object type, but if we can store immutable objects like strings or collections, which can be wrapped in an unmodified version, then we can do something like this. This isn't as efficient as a primitive byte array until we get Project Valhalla, But if you need true immutability, this is as close as we can get with records. In a record, you can still implement any method you want and treat them like classes given these constraints. You can also override the default method implementation for toString, hashcode, and equals. They are great additions to your code, and I'm addicted to using them. Notice that you need to check that your libraries are up to date. Some older versions of JSON parsers and similar tools don't know how to serialize records properly. JEP 405 defines record patterns, which correlates to the instance of pattern matching we discussed before. It enhances that with a syntax that extracts the value of the record. Notice that this is a preview feature that might change in the future. Notice that if O is an instance of point, we would just have X and Y from that point as variables in the if scope, and we could use them in that block. This is a simple pattern matching enhancement we can use. I hope you will experiment with records and learn to appreciate them as much as I do. They are a fantastic addition to the Java language, and I'm sure you will become as addicted to them as I am. Next week, we'll talk about the HTTP Client API. Follow through the videos to check out the full course. If you have any questions, please use the comment section. Thank you.